So this interview is brought to you by Burn It Up Coaching and the 21-day challenge. So if you are an entrepreneur, you're capable of, and you want to reignite yourself and your self-belief and your passion so you can succeed like never before, 21-day challenge might be a great fit for you. It is very intense, one-on-one accountability for 21 days, daily check-ins, and weekly deep dive calls to make sure that you are empowered and fired up to be your greatest possible self so that you achieve your number one goal in 21 days. So if that's interesting or sounds like a great fit for you, or you're curious, send me a message or an email, and we'll see if it's a good fit for you. I'll send you an intake form, and if you make the cut, we'll take those next steps. And if not, no hard feelings. I'm sure there's a great program out there for you, but this one might not be it. So send me a message if you're interested. Looking forward to talking to you. And this interview is also brought to you by our iTunes review of the week, and it was left by Bree Seeley. Bree says, it actually disappeared off my phone. Did I take a screenshot of it? I hope I did. Hold on one second. Bree Seeley, who is a superstar. If you guys don't know Bree, you definitely should get to know her. And I'm going to find this. There it is, okay. She said, Chris is a brilliant light in the world. His energy and enthusiasm is palpable. So grateful he started this podcast to share it with more people. So, Bree, thanks so much for sharing that and leaving us a review. And if you want to leave us a review, go to beyourgps.com/iTunes, or you can also go to search Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self on the iTunes store, and you'll find it there, or search Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self on Facebook and leave us a review there. Now, for the man of the hour, Doug Holt. Doug Holt is the owner of 6 companies, all 150 centered around helping business owners grow their businesses and live epic lives. In short, he's a father, a husband, a trusted friend, an advisor, an entrepreneur, an investor, an adventurer, and a regular guy who enjoys learning new things over a great glass of wine, beer, or a good cup of coffee. His clients know him mostly as their trusted advisor and friend. His passion is helping business owners get unstuck and gain clarity so they can live the lives they truly dream of and take control of their businesses in a way that supports their dreams. Doug, are you ready to rock the house, brother?
I'm ready, man.
He's ready.
I'm ready to go.
Let's do it, baby. You're now live on Becoming Your Greatest Possible Self. Welcome, man. Thank you for coming on.
Oh, thanks so much for having me. I'm super stoked.
Yes, awesome, man. We're going to dive in today. We're going to start off with the theme of the day, which is reflection. So, Doug, how has this concept of reflection played a part in your life, your development as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as someone who's making a big difference and influence in the world?
Oh, reflection's huge. I have well, first of all, my wife and I have a practice of reflection every single day. We reflect on the day, talking about wins. I do it every week. Mm-hmm. So here I am. My family and I are traveling around North America for the next 3 months. So I am literally living the life I talk about. I'm in a hotel lobby. Wanted to make sure I had good Wi-Fi to talk to you today. I was so excited. So we're traveling around. So we reflect on this. This is a dream that we set in motion. We talked about it. We actualized it. And now in reflecting this, this morning I was hiking in the mountains with my son and playing with him. And, today I'm here talking to you in a totally different part of the world. It's just an epic life. So reflection is huge, especially as business owners, high achievers, and entrepreneurs like you, Chris. Oftentimes we set goals and we hit them and then we're like, what's next? Yes. We look around and we don't stop often to consider why or what we did and to celebrate those wins. And so I think reflection is key.
Dude, amen. Preaching it, baby. Let's get it, Doug. I love it, man. I love it. So 100%, and we are absolutely diving in even more. So, Doug, tell us a little bit more about what you're working on today. I mentioned 6 businesses and just kicking butt, taking names. Tell us about that lifestyle that you've created, all that good stuff.
Wow. So that's a long story. But, so I run my companies. I've been able to, I'll go back in the backstory as you and I talked about offline if you'd like to. But right now I'm running all my businesses. I run them while I travel, while I spend time with my family. It was, as most entrepreneurs, you get into that grind, that hustle. And that's what's really being promoted right now in media. You got to grind it out. I can outwork you. And right now I spend most of my time coaching business leaders, right? That's who I work with. I mentor them. It's my passion. I just love it. I've been coaching people in one shape or form since 95. It's my lifeblood. And so what I was stuck doing is grinding it out and not allowing my business to work for me. I was working for my business, and I was running, I've been running companies from a very young age. And so today, fast forward, I'm traveling with my family, I'm running my companies, but all my businesses now fit around my life. And to me, it was so important as a father, a new father. My son's 15 months, Chris.
That's so awesome, man. Congrats.
I didn't want that Cats in the Cradle song. You've heard that.
Right?
I didn't want that coming on with my son. And so I wanted to be there for those moments, to teach him, to play with him. And, I think the first time you and I talked, I know you were down in San Diego going to Orange County, and we hung up the phone, and you were going off to play, and I walked out and was wrestling with my son, and that's where I spend most of my day, is with my
that's awesome.
Yeah, you hear so many people talk about it, and you ask business owners, and that's what I do all day, is what's most important to you, and they'll tell you the relationships, their family, people around them. Yet, if I ask people, I show me your calendar, show me what's going on in your calendar. Hardly any of it is scheduled in there. Hardly any time is spent with family. It's all for some day.
Yeah.
And so to answer your question, what I spend my time, what I'm working on now is focusing on where my feet are, just planning here, being with my friends and family, having great conversations with people like you. And that is my passion, and just really trying to help people get unstuck and get some clarity so they can have the same thing for themselves.
Amen, man. Well, I love that you're living the dream. You're living what you're preaching, and I know that in the beginning you didn't have it where it was you were living life by design. It was more so you're working and grinding away. So let's go back to that place and how you learned that lesson to be the creator of your reality, and then how you took proactive steps to actually do that and create this life that you're living now.
Yeah, sure. So like I said, it's a long story, and I touched on it a little bit with you. So first of all, I was a young business owner. I've always been an entrepreneur. I was, that kid, that chubby kid, and selling, in Orange County, California, right? Selling fruit that I grew in my backyard, door to door, to get money. And it was in my blood. And it was just one of those things. So fast forward to my 20s, out of college, I was running 3 companies. And during that time, I had the ability to train some of the most successful and wealthy people in the world. I was in a city, Santa Barbara, California. We had, there's celebrities, you have all this wealth around you. And I ran, one of my businesses was a very high-end personal training studio. And the reason I touch on this is, I'll come back to it. And I ran a magazine, and I also did consulting. So I worked a lot. Wow. And here I am, the youngest business owner on State Street, which is the main drag in Santa Barbara. And all these successful people who are older than me have run, $100 million companies. Or like, Doug, you've got the life, you've got the dream, you're doing what you love, you're a couple blocks from the beach, you got it. And so, fast forward a number of years, and I was living the dream, by the way. It was great, but I was always grinding it out for that next thing. When I could take the time off, when I could go on vacation. Because I wasn't doing that. Before, I traveled all over the world. Right. And so I was sitting at a coffee shop one day, and it's journaling. And I usually met one of my mentors. I've always had coaches and mentors, and that's why I'm going to look into your 21-day program. There's always more ways to sharpen that saw. Yes. So I was sitting there, and I was coffee shop it's off Figueroa. It's called Janine. So a lot of people, if they've been to Santa Barbara, might know it. And I go there often, and I would just journal. And I started writing in my journal, and I was like, everybody's telling me how successful I am, how great my life is, how lucky I am. Something inside was just not settling perfectly for me. And I wrote my journal. I asked a question. I was like, hey, if someone followed me around, the real me, not the stuff that everybody was seeing, but like going home on a Friday night and just being too tired to go out with friends, waking up early in the morning and grinding it out. I go, if someone followed me around and wrote that into a story, right, would that be a story that I would want to read? And the answer that came back to me when I wrote it down was immediately no. I was like, oh, crap. Okay. I was like, all right. So if that's not the truth, would it be a bestseller that other people would want to read? No. Am I the hero in that story? No. So once I wrote down those 3 questions, Chris, and answers to those, I was like, oh man, I had to rapidly change the direction that I wanted to go. I knew at the moment. I had some obligations. I had leases on buildings. I had employees, and nobody at that time, very few people were doing digital nomadism, right? Really traveling. It was talked about, but you couldn't find coaches or somebody to learn from. Right. So what I realized was, at that point in time, I wasn't living my own story, right? My own true story. And so I set the ball in motion where I started moving my businesses around, looking at different investments, what I could do with learning. Like I said, I'm always getting coaches, what I could do to change my mindset, where I was put a strategy in motion. Strategy is something I've just always been good at. And that's when I developed kind of the author of your own story, which is my passion project idea of, people started asking me, well, how are you doing what you're doing? And, I kind of went, okay, it's hard to explain. I just chose to do this. And, fast forward a couple of years, I sold my studio, sold the gym, and I had started other businesses that allowed me to have this lifestyle while I was traveling. And with the advent of social media, you know how that goes, right? You start posting pictures, and here I am traveling and, staying in hotels, camping. I was all over national parks, just what I love, being outdoors. And people would ask me like, oh, that's so great that you could do it, Doug, but I can't do it because I have kids, or I can't do it because I'm married, or I can't do it because I have a red car, right? So whatever excuse it was for them. And some of these people were family, very close friends. And I'd been coaching people. And one of the things, as a coach, you don't ever coach family and friends. It's just rule number one, right? And it actually broke my heart. And so I decided to put a ball in motion. I actually met my whole team. So I was running a number of companies. I got everybody together and told them my wild idea was, how do we inspire people so we can change the world? That's where we came up with author of your own story. Like, how can we tell people, hey, my story is my story. I love to travel. Here I am in a hotel, right? Some part of the country with my family. Not everybody wants to do that, but whatever your story is, just go after it. And I think that's how we make the world a better place. I really do.
Wow, that's amazing, man. So you were in this place where you weren't fulfilled. On the outside, it looked amazing, but when you ask yourself those questions of, would I like to read this story? No. Would other people like to read this story? No. At least, am I the hero? No.
Well, and that's the thing, right? Because, we think about it with our lives, and I don't know about you, but I know I got at least one shot at this. And why don't I make it the absolute best possible? And I believe that every moment, right, you and I get to write our own story, right? Yeah. You're choosing to be here with me, and I honor that, and I'm choosing to be with you. And so that is part of our story. If that's not the most epic thing you could be doing, or the thing that fills you up, do something else. It's only fear that stands in our way. And I can also tell you that I think this is important for everybody listening, is I've been able to now coach some of the most successful people in the world. And I can tell you, what you see on the outside is definitely not what you're seeing on the inside most cases, right? And that was definitely the way I was back in 2003 to 2007. It was all great, but I just wasn't fulfilled. And at the end of the day, that's the marrow of life.
Juicy, man. Juicy. I love it. So let's dive into more of this, being the author of our own story. What does it take to do that? What's the foundation that we got to lay to really start building an epic life that we're proud of?
Yeah, well, first is the choice, right? First, you have to recognize whether you're there or not. And it sounds easy, but we lie to ourselves more than anybody else. And I think, we all kind of know that, but, again, we start to lie to ourselves again because it hurts. It's painful in a lot of ways and scary to recognize you're not doing what you love, especially as time clicks by. And so part of that, resource that I always recommend people do is hang out with people that are older than you, much older, in their 80s, and listen to them or read books from them or get mentors who have been down that path and hear what they say. And a lot of times people don't say, wow, I wish it was so bad that I did this amazing trip, right? They talk about regrets of things they did not do.
Yes.
Right? It's never the things they did. And so the first step really is getting clear. And I recommend setting aside a time to vision. Get clear on what you want. What do you want your life to be like? Get crystal clear on that. And the clearer you can be, we take, so with my clients, I do a thing called the 90-day game, and I take them through a visualization exercise, and it goes something like this. Like, so Chris, let's say we run into each other 2 years from now. We'll just say 2 years at this point, and sometimes we do different times. But I run into you and we're at the airport. I'm like, Chris, dude, good seeing you, man. You're vibrant. It was just hard to say because you're so vibrant now, but you're even more, even more energetic. And so it's hard to imagine. And I ask you, like, what's going on? You're like, Doug, I'm firing on all cylinders. I'm a 10 out of 10 in my mind, my body, my soul, my relationships, my business, everything's great. And then I ask you, what happened? What's going on? And then you start describing it to me in detail because you're passionate about it, right? So you're vivid, like, this is what's going on. I got a house here, house there. I got a family, or I don't, whatever. And I think it's really important to write that down, but get crystal clear on the details, right? What does it feel like? Where do you live? What's the house like? Who are you around? What are the relationships you've started? What are the relationships you've ended, which is also critically important in my opinion. Wow. What are the businesses you've started? What are the businesses you've ended? Like, what's going on? And tell me that story as if it was you're writing like the best novel in the world, right? Remember, this novel is for you and you only. It's got to be one that you want to be a page turner. Like, you don't want to put this thing down. You want to be flipping through this thing and reading it like, that guy's life is epic. Right? That's step number one, because it's got to be a page turner for you. Yeah. And that's the most important thing.
Damn. Right? And that's so cool, because often even me, I've thought about my vision for the future, and it's like, it's so, in the past, it's been very mechanical, like, okay, well, I think I want this, I think I want the money, I think I want the car, so that's what I'm going to write. I think I want the family, the white picket fence, blah, blah, blah. But when you put it in the context of like, what would be exhilarating for you to read? What would be that page turner? What would, get you fired up when you see like you've accomplished this or overcome these challenges or built this and pushing the envelope in these ways, in these industries, in these fields? I think that's a whole new context that I've never seen it from.
Yeah, well, I didn't see it either. That's why I'm not one to build things that I've seen. Right? I'd rather use somebody else's stuff. But this is what works for me, right? Yeah, and through the years, this has worked for my clients too, or the people I've worked with, and just anybody else that'll listen to me. I just want people to do this. The key here is like, do you want to swim with sharks? Write it down. Like, tell me what happened. Do you want to skydive? Do you want to go on adventures? Or do you want to have dinner at the White House? Like, all these things that you could be possible. And I think something that's important is if somebody else has done it, you can do it too. So write it down. If that's going to be the page turner for you, that, for me, it's, I have a young kid, so it's early bed for me when I'm reading, but whatever it is that makes you want to read and keep reading. We've all had that book or story or audio or whatever that you just don't want to stop. That's what we want for you. This is your story. You can write in anything you want, and make it as epic as possible. Now that's point one. All right. That's the fun part. And I recommend taking several hours doing that.
Awesome.
The second part is getting real clear and honest and not beating yourself up, but where are you now today? Like, tell me where you really are, like honestly where you are. So for me, it's like, okay, I'm in a hotel. It's a nice hotel, but here I am. The conference rooms were locked. They couldn't get the keys. I tried to book one, but what's going on with you and the real stuff? It's also great. I'm traveling around the world with my family. I can do this now in my life. It's amazing. But where are you now? Get that clear. Then identify the gap. What is the gap between Chris Burns today and Chris Burns 2 years ago, when 2 years from now, he runs into Doug at the airport? Right. And maybe it's a private hangar. I don't know. You probably have your own plane by then. I do. So we'll run in there. We'll meet together, yes. Coffee or a cocktail, depending. And then we'll chat. So what's happened? So what's the gap between where you are today and where you want to go? And once you have that, then there's a bunch of strategies. I'm happy to go into them. There's a bunch of strategies to start to reverse engineer that. How did that guy, Chris Burns, 2 years from now get there? Like, what's the roadmap look like? What are the things that had to be in place? And so something I do is what's called the 90-day game. And so we gamify that. We back it into quarterly goals, basically. So a lot of people do 90-day, goal setting. And I'm a huge fan of it. I've been doing it for a very long time. I did it because it fit into quarters, right? Right. Year, it was easy for me to do. I did financial quarters. So the same idea is, how do you back it into 90 days? Right. So what would Chris a year from now, where would he have to be in order to be Chris Burns 2 years from now? So you get an idea and you kind of write that out and make sure, well, if he's going to be a millionaire, and I'm sure it's probably, you've written your goals out. I'm sure they're even a lot harder than that, but we'll use that for now. Yeah. He's going to be a millionaire. Then a year from now, maybe he has to have 500,000, 250, it's going to snowball. I don't know. And then start going through that. But I use 5 areas because I find that to be holistic in my life, which is mind, body, soul, relationships, and business. Now with clients, I'll go into 3 other ones, which is growth, fun, and wealth. And especially for guys like us, and girls too, but people that are high achievers, don't forget fun in your goals. That's the most common one I see missing, is fun. Relationships is number 2, and then spirituality. But fun is one that people just forget to write down and really schedule in, right? It's so easy to schedule in meetings, appointments. don't forget fun. You're here to have fun. Come on.
Yeah.
Make sure you're doing it.
Especially when you design that 2-year vision, right? Like you can work back on, hey, if I'm having that fun there, what are some things that I can start doing now this week or this month that are like in alignment with that are taking steps towards that? So if it's, swimming with sharks, can you go out to the ocean? Can you go swimming in the ocean? Can you go on a boat ride? Can you like do these different things? Can you go to the aquarium? Just like getting closer to that vision is just taking steps.
Yeah. Well, also, I'm not a believer in, and Tim Matthews talks about this. I'm not sure if you know him, the Powerful Man. Yeah. He talks about 2 paths, right? And there's 2 paths to get there. There's the struggle hustle path, and there's the easy path. And dude, I've done the struggle. It's so funny when you survey business owners. I just got back, I think when I talked to you, I got back from coaching a retreat for business owners.
Yep.
And every one of them, all men, every one of them said, I can outwork anybody. It's like, wait a minute. You can't, it can't be possible because every one of you can outwork everybody. There's too many of you here to be the best. People think they can. The problem is you're missing the fun along the way. So your book has to be written day by day. So you start having fun now. Don't put your head down, go, I'm going to work so hard because then I'm going to enjoy it. No, enjoy now. It's be, do, have, right? That's the formula. It's not have, be, do, or anything else. It's be that man, be Chris Burns 2 years from now. Yeah. Then you get to do the things he does. Then you get to have that life. It's so simple, but it's almost the exact opposite of what most people do.
I love it, man. I love it. And I think it's so awesome that we begin with the end in mind. What's the legacy that we want to leave? What's the story that we want to write? And then from there, it's just like, okay, what's the process? How committed are you to executing? How committed is this vision? Is it that important to you? And I think that that's also something that gets developed over time, our connection to it, our drive with it. And then through time, also enough things line up in the universe to like make it manifest.
Yeah, I think so. But I also going to add on to that because I think of it a little bit differently. Yeah. I think the key with this is, how committed are you? Well, yeah, the things are going to come up. But if you're not committed, your vision sucked. This is your story, right? And you should be like, wow, I just want to live into this. Wow. But also what I have people do is they have them write their goals down like most people do, or what you want in those 5 areas or 8, depending on who it is. And then I ask, why do you want it? What's your why behind that, right? Pretty common. Right. And why do you want it? Give me the real deal. Not that, it's usually, you can use that whole idea of asking that question 5 times and you get to the truth usually after the 5th, right? But also, who does it affect besides you? Who does that affect? So if if you become this man 2 years from now, who does it affect? And oftentimes it takes a lot of coaching from someone like yourself for somebody to actually get to the emotional raw component to what really moves the needle, right? And my guess is, is that you will let yourself down before you let me down. You're the kind of guy that's never going to let somebody else down. You're going to go through, hell and back to make sure you honor yourself. But, some days you might not put your running shoes on or whatever. Right. So having that who, make sure you don't let these other people down, and really connecting the who, the why, and then the what together really makes that commitment issue not much of an issue until you get to fear. And then there's other things you can do, because that does happen.
Yeah. Wow, that's powerful. So it's figuring out the vision and then breaking it down into the what. That's like the steps that you can take. The why do you want it? And then who else does it affect besides me? You mentioned that there was like some process that we can dive into, strategy for actually executing it. You mentioned the 90-day game. Is there anything else that you can give us some clarity on, specifics on, to be able to fulfill that two-year vision? Yeah,
absolutely. Yeah, it's something we coach, but it's nothing. I want everybody doing this. This is my passion. It's my mission, So we take our 2-year vision, right? And you can go up to 5, you go to 5. I find that after 5 years, people get too diluted, but 2 is a really good number. Yeah. So take it back to 1 year. Where do you have to be? Then we're going to take it back to 6 months, right? Mm-hmm. So you're looking at these like milestones. So go back to money's easy. Money and weight for some reason are very easy for people to understand. So let's go back to Chris, $1 million in 2 years. For easy math for me, right? 1 year is 500,000. Right. 6 months is 250,000, right? So where are you today? right? You don't have to answer that question, but that's what you want to make sure you know in all of your areas. Where are you realistically? And just honestly, be honest with yourself. Where are you? And with no judgment. Then I want to know, what is your 90-day marker? Like, how do I know it's 90 days? So you say, okay, well, that's 125,000. All right. So cool. Now we're going to gamify it. So do you watch sports or play sports?
Yes.
What's your favorite sport to watch?
I love watching baseball.
Cool. So you're watching a game. Then how do you know who's winning?
Who has the higher score?
A scoreboard. Yeah, yes. Simple, right?
Yes.
How do you know at the end of the day for you? I mean, you are an energetic guy. How do you know at the end of the day, week, month, quarter, year, if you're winning or losing? Most of us haven't set metrics. Really, everybody's, in business, people are talking about KPIs, and that's great. But you need a scoreboard for your life. How do you know at the end of the day if you're winning or losing? So we back that into the 90-day game. That's why I call it a game. We're going to gamify these goals. So every day, every week, month, and quarter, and eventually you can carry that on, right? You know if you're winning or losing. And and I'm a competitive guy. I love sports. I love playing them. I can tell you are too, and probably a lot of people watching this. You want to win, and winning you might put in that extra 5 minutes or twist things around a little bit to make sure you're going to get that achievable goal. So we want to gamify that. I'll come into that point system in a little bit. So now we have your 90-day goal. So all 5 areas, or 8, like I said, if you want to expand, I'll just talk about the 5 from now on. So whatever you have to do to get to Chris 2 years from now, and what is the one thing in those goals, right? So the way I would going back to the book, The One Thing, by the way, amazing book, recommend it for everybody.
Yes.
Yeah, it's something that I've been trying to explain, but he does such a better job than I ever have, which is great. So we're going to pick one thing in each of those 5 categories for you, Chris, that is based on your 2-year vision. We backed it into 90 days. What's the one thing that makes all other things either unnecessary or easier, right? In those areas. So let's go back to, you making, Chris, $1 million. And we're assuming this is just, money you can just spend, right? It's just no problem there. So we're going to say, okay, what's the thing you can do? And you could say, well, you know what? If I spent 1 hour every day doing sales calls, right? Whatever, that is going to get me to my goal. Or maybe it's producing a book, right? Producing another book. You're going to have an epic bestseller about your 21-day program. And you know that after in 91 days, you're going to hit that. That's going to get you to the $250,000. That's almost guaranteed because it's definitely going to be a bestseller. You got tons of connections. It's going to be amazing. Cool. So we got that, right? So in order to get that book done, what do you have to be at 60 days? Well, you're like, well, Doug, at 60 days, I actually have the rough draft to the editors. Cool. So we know you have to have a rough draft, and great. At the end of 30 days, what do you have to do? Okay, by the end of 30 days, I have to have the first 10 chapters done. Great. So we're backing this into this one goal. And we look at daily. What's the one thing that you can do each and every day, if done consistently, that makes all other things easier and unnecessary? And so you can have up to 2. So let's say you say, Doug, if I write 5 pages a day, every day, and I spend 30 minutes marketing the new book coming up every day, that guarantees me that when this book comes out, it's going to be a bestseller, which we know it's going to be. And that way I know that I'm launching towards my $250,000 goal. I'm going to hit it. It's a no-brainer. So now you have 2 items that you have to do every single day. You have to write the 5 pages in the book, and you have to do that 30 minutes of marketing on the book every single day. You get half a point for each of those. So 1 point in each category. We're going to do this gamification through all of your categories. And what this is going to allow us to do is not only know at the end of the day how many points you got, right? Did you win? Did you lose? What's your score? But we're going to see trends, right? Because most people start going, okay, I'm writing the book, I'm doing this. But in my soul, for some people, a lot of people, it's meditating is a one that's common, right? Maybe you start slipping on that and you stop meditating. Well, now I can see a trend over time of what areas you tend to focus on and which ones you don't. And it's human nature to focus on what we do best and to actually let go what we don't like to do, what we're not good at. And so now we can see what's kind of lagging, so to speak. And now we can make shifts. I know you've heard that analogy about a plane or a golf ball, right? A plane is always course correcting. It's never on track or on path. We're the same way. right? People are just the same way. But now you have a certain number of items that you can do, and you're winning or losing. You can look at your score. I can report to a coach. I could just simply text you and say, Chris, or you could text me and say, Doug, here's my score for the day. I have these 5 items, 5 total points, plus 2 other things, which I call accountability and actually checking in. So you have 7 points total for the day in the game that I set up for people. And it's in a whole system. And then you could just text me, or your coach will actually be able to pull it up for you and see your total point score. So you're like 7, 7, 3, 4. Oh, what's going on with Chris? Something's going on. What's happening? Then you could start course correcting and seeing what's really good. Is it the wrong goal? Is it the wrong why? Is it the wrong who? Is it just you being lazy? Like, what's really going on? And laziness is not really laziness. There's some barrier or blockage there that needs to be cleaned up.
Something else. Yep.
Yeah.
Dude, I love the game, especially, because I think that the next generation, millennials, fun is such a key component. I think it is for most people, but a lot of people put it in the back, and then they suffer through life rather than having fun. So I love that you're creating that, man. Just as you were saying it, I was like, ooh, that sounds like fun. Sounds like so much fun to play.
Well, it's awesome, man. And what I do it with myself as well.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy at how in 90 days, you're literally unrecognizable to your former self, because you're hitting those. We all have those New Year's resolutions, those goals we set year after year after year. You're like, this is going to be the year I'm learning Spanish or French or what, I'm going to play the guitar or whatever it is. And it keeps getting put by the wayside. And so this system I found through trial and error and coaches and books and everything else I've invested in is a way that you actually compress that time into 90 days. Then you got to celebrate. You just got to celebrate those victories. And like you said, you got to have fun. Because you know what? I spent so much time not having fun and really I had fun, but working really hard and kind of grinding, like I said. And I just think that's the wrong thing to be teaching people right now.
Amen. I think that there's a balance too, it's the sprint, it's the go full out, full in everything you do, the give it everything you got. And then when you're done with that, move into the next thing that you're doing, whether that's having fun, whether that's dancing, whether that's meditating, working out, reading, spirituality, friends, family, whatever, right? I think it's just be fully present wherever it is. And so many people are just so scattered. And to create this game, I love it because it's just putting it into a context. Are you doing what's necessary? And then when you mark off your points for the day, are you then moving into celebration or whatever else you have scheduled for your day to make sure that you have that whole life balance and you're being fulfilled in every area?
Yeah, well, it's totally right. And I mean, to give you an idea to leverage on, for me during the winter was snowboarding. So I went snowboarding. My thing was I had to go snowboarding 4 days a week.
Yes.
Part of my fun. I didn't have to. I chose to.
Right.
But that filled my soul, right? Because I'm outside doing something active that I love. So that for me, I got a point in the soul category if I went snowboarding. Because look, I own 6 businesses. I could talk about coaching and business and mentoring all day. It lights me up. So it's easy for me to go, I'll just do that tomorrow because I'd love to have another conversation with Chris. We could talk for hours, right? So by gamifying it, it actually pulled me out to go on the mountain. As soon as I get to the mountain, of course, I'm like, obviously this is exactly what I want to be doing. This is perfect.
Of course.
But it's getting out the door, right? This is so hard for some people. And so you can do that. But to your point, there's seasons in life. This is your game. This is nobody else's story. This is your life. It's not something that's carved out on, by watching TV and trying to mimic somebody else. That's a bunch of BS. So you can do it any way you want to. I mean, there are times like product launches and things like that you got to put some extra time in.
Yep.
But if you're playing your game and you're balancing your 5 areas, you can still do that. It doesn't take all day to do these 5 areas and these 5 points. Right. And at the end of the 90 days, you can still have your product launch, still have a holistic, balanced life, and not miss your relationships like so many business owners do, or your health, which I know is critically important to you. So you would never do that. But so many other business owners, as you know, do.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting too because I grew up playing lots of sports. Then I did football my senior year, just my senior year, and I learned about like the weight room and working out, and from there I've just been like obsessed with it, and it's something that I'm really good at, and so that's like my default. I love working out, I love going to the gym, yoga, even like Zumba dancing and hip hop dancing. Like I love it, man. I love just moving and having fun like that. And I've noticed even at times in the past where I would use like working out as an escape, as a way to like not do those harder things like we were talking about earlier. So it's just really recognizing that and noticing when those patterns are happening, when that trend is happening, so we can course correct and make better choices.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I always encourage people to do it first thing in the morning. Get your points first thing in the morning. It's like working out, right? You talk to you love working out. I love working out.
Yeah.
Talk to other people though. They're like, hey, Chris, how do I get in shape like you?
Right.
You want them to do it first thing in the morning because things are going to come up. I always say, put your running shoes by the door with your gym clothes so you trip over them, right? That kind of, but do this with the other areas of your life because you don't want to be that entrepreneur, that business owner. And I've coached a lot of these who are super successful in all of these areas, money, business, notoriety. They look up and nobody's around them.
Wow.
No family, no real friends, right? They have friends, but no real friends. And they lost their health. Right now, they'll pay any amount of money to get their health back, which you never can, right? You can never really get your health back. And so that's why I think it's so important to have a message of just really being holistic. Sure, there's seasons to grind, right? You're putting in your effort, you're putting in your work. I'm all for that. But it doesn't have to be that hard. And it doesn't have to be at the sacrifice of the rest of the areas of your life, including fun, including spirituality, including relationships, and including health.
Yeah. And you know what else about fun is we can have fun any moment. It's like you can create fun. You can create 5, 10, 15 minutes of fun, just like to go outside and run around or whatever your definition of fun is, and to play an experiment of like what feels like fun. What did you like to do as a kid? Like just exploring.
Yeah. Totally, man. I mean, it's amazing with my son. I rediscover so many things, like doing somersaults, and I'm like, oh yeah, this is so great. Why, I did them jujitsu. That's the last time as an adult I did them, but you don't do it normally. And I think, it's so critical that people remember to have fun and to enjoy it. And here's a concept that I think is understated. As an entrepreneur, a business owner, what if you built your business around your life instead of trying to grind it out or work on your business and fit your life, your friends, your family, everything else around all your meetings in your business? What if you did it the opposite way? What would happen? And I can tell you it's a lot better. It's a lot better.
I love it, man. I love it. And I think that we might have some people who are just starting out their journey who are like, well, how do I do that? I feel like I got to work extra hard to like catch up. Or if I have a 9 to 5 or 8 to 5 and then I got to do my entrepreneur business, it's like, yes. And I think what Doug is saying, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it's to like really do your best to put the keystone things that are important to you, the weekly or however long family calls or sessions or times that you're able to get together, and make sure that that's a stable rock that you design into your life first after you start piling in all the business stuff. If you're building and you tend to be overwhelmed, just put those milestones and the key things in there first, and then designing around that.
I would say the founders I coach are the worst, right? Like real founders, not like founders that, everybody wants to be this kind of fake founders, a lot of them, but real business founders are the worst. And the thing is that I find, and I was this guy for so many years, that's why I can communicate with them, is you're busy being busy, right? It's that time of the day where you're like, oh, what am I doing? And you're just like, you're on the internet, you're moving files. I mean, I've been guilty of just spending hours moving files or organizing. Well, it doesn't do anything, right? We all know that. And so that's the key. The key is getting those like you said, the keystone habits or the keys in your business done first. I had a mentor is very well known, but I won't say his name. I had a mentor when I was very young. I was very lucky. And he was older. He was in his 70s at the time. I was in my early 20s. I'm 41 now. And he said, Doug, the most important thing is to kill your darlings first. I was like, excuse me? And what he's talking about is Brian Tracy talks about eat that frog. Pick the one thing that moves the needle the most in your business and you don't want to do. Do that first. Get that out of the way. For a lot of people, it's sales calls, right? Sales are important. Founders and business people just starting out are so good at concepts, but not actually doing sales or marketing or the hard work. Do that first. Get that out of the way. I swear and promise you have time to connect with your significant other, your friend, your high school friend, your buddies, to go to the gym or go for do a HIIT workout, something to help you out. Stop being busy spinning your wheels. It's easy to be said and do the 21-day program. Like I'm going to do
Ignite.
Yeah. Do something, get coaches and mentors around you. I still have coaches and mentors. You have to keep sharpening your saw. You just have to. I don't care if you tell me, hey, Doug, I'm broke, go to the library. It's free. Go online. Get coaches and mentors. Watch shows like this where you can get information from experts like you, Chris. There's ways of doing this. So stop lying to yourself. Sorry, it sounds mean, but I'm not trying to be.
Hey, be straight, Doug. Some people need some straightness sometimes.
Well, stop lying to yourself because you're lying.
I love it, man. I love it. Okay, so in terms of building these companies, you've built, I think you own 6 companies right now. You're helping run and grow those. So tell us what that's like, juggling all that and making that happen. What does it take to be that man, that entrepreneur, that business person to make that happen?
There's a lot of things. I think first, it's all mindset, by the way. It's 100% mindset. The business tactics are great, but it comes down to mindset at the end of the day. And I know you totally agree. So for me, as somebody, I've loved coaching, right? So I owned a gym, right? I coached sports when I was in high school. I've always liked learning and then teaching. That's just what I love to do. So at this stage, what I do is I coach the leaders in my businesses. So that's where I spend my time. I coach my clients, but I also coach them. I treat them as if they're paying me high 6 figures to coach them. I check in with them every single day. So to give you kind of a bird's eye view of what my day looks like, I wake up in the morning, so I was at a lake, for the last week. Now they had Wi-Fi there that you could buy. It was remote in British Columbia. It was the weirdest thing. It was like the only place I've ever been where you can't get cell service for like an hour's drive. But on this part of the lake, they had, it was public Wi-Fi. You'd pay for it, but it was a nonprofit. It was really cool. But anyway, so I'm on this lake for a week. So I check in, but after maybe around 10 o'clock, I have Voxer messages. So old school app that we like because nobody else uses it for anything else. And so all the leaders on my team check in with a daily check-in. Here's what's going on. Here's what needs your attention. Here's my one thing, right? Boom, boom, boom. They're quick. They're usually a minute, sometimes 3. I have 2 partners in different businesses. So 2 business partners, their messages are longer, but it's the same thing. They do a daily check-in with me and I do it with them and I do it with my leadership team. I respond if they need anything. And what I've learned to do is delegate power, give up power and control, which was really hard for me. I'm not going to lie, Chris. So early on, giving up control was really hard. I've been an entrepreneur for so long and I got solopreneur, grinding it out. I do it all. I can program a computer. I can build a website, but I can also do the books. I can do financial analysis. So I'll just do it all. And that way I know it's done perfectly, right? So now I delegate all of that out and allows me to free up my space for higher level thinking, right? Thinking time on your business. So that's Keith Cunningham. If you're not sure about him, look him up. He's great, but he talks a lot about that. And he learned that from his mentors. Is the most successful business owners, talk about billionaire business owners, right? They schedule time in their calendar for thinking time, right? That's critically important. So my day is spent mostly doing that, doing strategy and working with my clients. But as far as running my companies, I can run, P&Ls, balance sheets, cash flow reports. Great. I can check in. I have project management systems on every client, every project. And so I hit a button. So I use teamwork.com. It's what I like. It's not, it's like a sauna, but it just works better for me and my workflow. I'm used to it. I hit a button, says everything, shows me every task on every project, what its status is, what everybody's doing. And then I use Slack also to communicate with my team. So back to this lake, all I did was check in on my phone, Voxer. Checked in, I was done after 10 minutes. Most of the times, maybe had to do a little bit longer to get clarification on something because I still love learning and teaching. right? So I'm always staying up with digital marketing, all the trends. I own a full digital stack agency. So I love this stuff and strategy with clients, but that's it. Then after that, I'm going to the lake, I'm swimming, I'm skipping stones with my son. I'm living life.
Yeah.
And so it didn't start that way. So for people just starting out, get it. That's not the way it started. That's just where I am now.
That's the 2-year vision.
Yeah. It works for me.
Yes.
I like it. So
yeah, no, I think that anything is possible as long as we set our mind to it, and whatever calls to someone, then own that vision. I think that's life is a process of developing the vision, refining what's important to us, what's meaningful to us. And, you said to spend a couple hours on developing that vision earlier on, just like sit down and write out what that is. And, like even if we develop it today, 2 years is still going to come from now. And at that point, what's your next vision? What are you creating then?
Yeah. Well, here's the thing too, this is what's really cool. And I get really excited about this is the man that Chris is going to be 2 years from now. If you do this vision, right? What you see as possible is totally different, right? The previously impossible is now not only possible, but probably actualized. And you're going to see so many different avenues that you never thought. You might think, you know what? I really like philanthropy. I've made so much money and I've realized I don't need money. Like money doesn't do much, right? Yeah, you can get a nice hotel or travel, and there's things that you need money for. I think money's great, and don't get me wrong. But you might realize, hey, you know what? Donating, right? Giving away my life. Or now, you're a great entrepreneur. What if you taught other entrepreneurs who were, less fortunate than yourself? Right. There's something else that's going to come up for you. So it's not just setting a goal and setting a goal that gets monotonous. It's dreaming bigger and bigger based off the platform you've grown into.
Man, I don't know if I told you this, Doug, but one of my visions is to create an augmented reality personal development device that gamifies life. So
I'm in, man. How can I help?
Yeah, it gives people like points when they do things like give food to a homeless person or kind acts, or even if they're in the gym and they do a rep, they'll get experience points for their stamina or different stuff like that. So
I love it,
dude. I love this conversation. I love that we're attracting this and these types of ideas, and I just love the energy that you're putting out in the world, man. It's amazing, and I'm excited to be connected and keep growing together. And let's begin like moving people towards a call to action, stepping up into a new phase of life, a new perspective, a new mentality about life. Let's bring it home, man.
Yeah. So, bring it home. First of all, you can have everything you want, period. Right? It's just you have to decide on it. And when you say yes to one thing, you're saying no to something else. I know it sounds cliche, but first off, if you're an entrepreneur, build your business around your life. Start with a vision. Back into the 90-day game. Now, you can do it formally with a coach. You can do it on your own. You can go back and re-listen to this. And I didn't hold anything back. That's the basic formula. Start gamifying and playing now, and play big. This is your chance. If you're not living, if I literally, so I wrote this down and I'm asking everybody else to do it. If I followed you around, or a journalist, and wrote the last 2 years of your life down, the real stuff, right? Wrote it down. Would that be an epic bestseller or a page turner for you? And if the answer is no, today, right now in this moment, it's time to change. Right here, right now, whatever you have to do. If, I hope you don't turn us off, but if you need to turn us off, do it, right? Start now. And I selfishly want the world to be a better place. And I really believe that people going after their dreams do make the world a better place. And that's what I'm on a mission for. That's my passion project with Author of Your Own Story. That's what I'm doing. And I want people to start. So start building your own vision. Get coaches, get mentors, get the best you can possibly afford or find. Stretch yourself a little bit. I really recommend that. If you haven't done the 21-day Ignite, do that, right? Get it going. That's really where I start. But you got to start now. And make sure you find someone who's living. If somebody's down the path earlier than you, attach to them. Find them. Find out everything they know. Find out how to be around them. It is the shortest path to success.
Boom. Dude, I love it. What do you see as the vision for the Author of Your Own Story? What do you see the impact of that making? I want you to create that for us of what the world's going to be like when people are owning their own story.
Oh man, when people are owning their own story, what I see happening is I see obviously crime goes down because people that are fulfilled just don't have issues with that. Author of your own story, you know, we have it at authorofyourownstory.com. It's different in the sense that we're launching a university element to it, which we want to continually teach those 5 areas: mind, body, soul, relationships, and business at a way that people can afford it. They can entry level. We're launching the 90-day game actually formally. Now, this is something my clients pay me 6 figures, and I don't say that to be braggadocious or to be impressive, but to impress upon people that we've brought it down where we're launching it for everybody, so everybody can use it, because I truly believe that people are fulfilled. They're going to be giving back more. It's going to be a society that people are happy. Like, you walk down the street, people say hi, how are you? But they really mean like, no, how are you? Like, it's not just in passing, it's actually connection. And, you know, when you think about things like addiction, right? I don't believe, like, I'd read a great quote that someone sent me today. It was a story, but the idea of addiction, and that, you know, they've done studies on rats, and rats that actually had tons of connection with other rats and other things that were fun and things like that, they didn't choose to actually go through addictive properties, right? They were given 2 water bottles, one with water laced with cocaine. And a rat that was left in a cage by itself always went to the water with a cocaine and basically killed itself after about 2 years. It was either heroin or cocaine, I can't remember. Right. The rat that was put in there with other rats, so it had plenty of sex, it had plenty of social life, and it had like things to do in its cage, always went to the water. And I think that's an analogy for what life will be like when people are living the author of their own story lifestyle. They're authoring their own life. Every day you wake up, kind of like you were talking about a game. You're playing a game. Imagine that. What if you were an avatar in a game? How would you live? Right? How cool would that be?
Yes.
The best part is you can do it now.
Oh, man. Dude, Doug, I love this. I love this conversation, man. So how can people take action and stay connected with you? What do we want them to do next, brother?
You know, you can reach out to me. I'm easy to find. Chris tagged me here on Facebook as well, so you can find me here on Chris's profile. Reach out to me. I'm really easy to reach. My website is dougholtonline.com. Of course, you can go to authorofyourownstory.com and reach out to me there. And if I can help in any way, shape, or form, I'm happy to do so, or at least try to point you in the direction I think is best for you.
Boom. I love it. I love it. Doug, I just want to really acknowledge you, brother. I acknowledge you for your heart. We can tell it flows out, man, how much you care, and just your genuine sincerity and presence here in every moment, and love, man. I feel it. I feel what you're creating, and I fully support it. And seriously, so grateful to be connected. And I will definitely be checking out Author of Your Own Story and all the things you got going on, because I see a lot of similarities and values in us that are very, very close, man. I appreciate you. I
appreciate you too. Thank you. I'm very grateful, and thanks for having me on. It's a great conversation. I know you and I will stay connected and have a lot more.
That's right. That's right, Doug. Awesome, man. Have the best day ever. We'll see you soon, okay?
You too. Take care.
Take care.